This season marks the 35th anniversary of Kansas's unexpected march to the 1988 NCAA title. Now, what could be so shocking about a blue blood program led by that summer's #1 NBA draft pick and a Hall of Fame coach winning it all? Well, that's the story of Danny and the Miracles and the most unlikeliest of titles from a college basketball blue blood. The Chucker, 1909's resident historian, explains.
Danny Manning and his Kansas teammates were not supposed to be in Kansas City on April 4th, 1988, one of the final two teams standing to close the 1987-1988 college basketball season. Though the Jayhawks had Manning, the Naismith College Player of the Year who would soon be a top selection in the 1988 NBA draft, they also had 11 losses. Coach Larry Brown used 12 different starting combinations during the season. He lost 2 players to injury, 2 more to academic issues, and 2 others to suspension. Sophomore Kevin Pritchard did not become the team's starting point guard until the 20th game. His backup, Clint Normore, well, he spent his fall playing football for the Jayhawks. Chris Piper, the Jayhawks' rim protector, hung all of 200 pounds on his 6'8 frame. Coming off knee surgery in November, Piper played much of the season with a pelvic injury that would require surgery at the end of the season. Their junior sharpshooter, Milt Newman, scored a total of 211 points over 62 games in his first 2 seasons, an average of 3.4 points per game. When the Jayhawks fell to 9-8 following a 73-65 loss to Oklahoma on February 3rd, they were staring not at the big dance, but at the NIT. Then the magic, or rather the miracles, happened. Manning did what only Manning could do, and the supporting cast of characters, even one named Scooter, made a run for the ages.
It would be remembered as one of the most tumultuous seasons in Kansas basketball history, and one of the greatest.
The 1988 Jayhawks were dead. They were more than dead. They were a joke.
I mean, they had 11 losses, double-digit losses. Nobody thought that this team was going to the Final Four, let alone playing for a national championship.
There's no pressure on us. Couldn't draw it up any better. Senior year, Final Four is 30 minutes away from the campus. That's storybook.
The ball into Scooter Berry, and Scooter scores. Scooter Berry is unreal this afternoon, playing the game of his life. The Hawks ball their way into the stockyards and the Final Four at Kemper Arena. We're going to the Final Four, baby.
Despite an 18-11 record, Kansas earned an at-large berth and a number 6 seed in the 1988 NCAA tournament. There, the Jayhawks upended Xavier before holding off Murray State to reach the Sweet 16. Against Vanderbilt, Manning scored 38 points as Kansas defeated the Commodores 77-64. It was Manning's 51st straight game in double figures. Vandy's Frank Cornett stood mesmerized by Manning's blockbuster performance. He was on, and they were going to him, Cornett said. I just tried to make him shoot the turnaround jumper because he was unstoppable down low. I was in his face all the time. It truly was frustrating. It was like, when is this man going to miss? In the Elite Eight versus in-state rival Kansas State, Manning did his part with 20 points and 6 boards. But it was the miracles of Danny and the Miracles that propelled the Jayhawks to a 71-58 victory. Scooter Berry, best known as being NBA star Rick Barry's son, scored a career-high 15 points, while Newton paired 18 points with 9 rebounds and 7 assists. Everyone says we're a one-man team, Manning said as the Jayhawks headed to an 8th Final Four in program history. One man this, one man that. Basketball is not a one-man sport.
We weren't the best physical talent, but we were the best team. And we all took pride in that, going out and playing the team game, and that's why we were successful.
But we weren't ranked very high. You know, the Dukes and the Oklahoma and Arizona were, kind of had the burden of rankings and all that kind of stuff. So, hey, we just felt like we go out there, play our game. We win, we win. If we don't, we go home. We've had a great year. We exceeded a lot of expectations from the middle point on.
In the national semifinals against Duke, which had beaten the Jayhawks at Allen Fieldhouse in late February, Kansas jumped out to an 18-2 advantage over the Blue Devils behind Manning. As Duke clawed back into the game, Brown called a timeout with 6 minutes remaining and looked at Manning. "Take over," he ordered. Manning did. He blocked shots, he scored. He finished with 25 points, 10 rebounds, and 6 blocks as Kansas won 66-59 and notched their first title game appearance since 1957 when Wilt Chamberlain donned Jayhawk colors.
This is Kansas City, and tonight, grace will be at a premium. For Danny Manning of Kansas, the challenge is to maintain the style that has made him Player of the Year. And for Larry Brown, to keep alive Kansas's dream of the glass slipper.
To get the job done, Kansas Jayhawks will play for a national championship.
In the national championship game, Big 8 rival Oklahoma was installed as an 8-point favorite. The Sooners entered the game 35-3, averaging 103 points per game with a plus 22 scoring margin. By contrast, Kansas averaged a comparatively paltry 75 points per game. And then there was this. Oklahoma had already downed Kansas twice on the season.
Oklahoma's going to play. They're going to run up and down. Let's slow the ball down. Let's slow the ball down and play our game. He leaves the huddle. Danny says, "Hey, guys, come here. Forget what Coach Brown just said. We're going to run with them." He said, "We're going to run with Oklahoma." We were like, let's go. Let's do it.
I think the players at that time felt they could beat anybody in any kind of game.
I say they can play an up-tempo game, but they can't beat Oklahoma playing this way.
Coach said, "All right, guys, you prove your point. You prove you can run with Oklahoma." He goes, "You prove you can play their game. Now, make them prove to you that they can play your game."
KU and OU entered the break tied at 50, the highest scoring half in NCAA championship game history. After the break, it was a back-and-forth affair, and Brown pleaded with his squad to keep it close until the final minutes. He knew Manning gave them a chance. Down the stretch, Manning made 4 consecutive free throws to clinch the Jayhawks' 83-79 victory and the second national title in Kansas program history.
Now Danny Manning shooting to give the Kansas Jayhawks their second national championship. Kansas has won it!
But the fact that they never got a big lead, I think, gave us a chance to get into the last couple of minutes, and that was when Danny, happened to win it for us.
Manning off the dribble. Advantage.
You can't say enough about the game that young man has played tonight.
After scoring 31 points and grabbing 18 boards in the title game, Manning was swiftly and unanimously named the tournament's most outstanding player. In front of a crowded room of reporters in the post-game euphoria, the soft-spoken Manning commanded the podium. "I'd like for you guys to put this in your articles," Manning directed the reporters. "To those who said it couldn't happen, well, we're the national champs. Number 1, how do you like it now?" Kansas and its fans, of course, liked it plenty well. For 19-9, I'm the Chucker.
Kansas City, here I come. I'm going to Kansas City, here I come.
After 3 weeks, the road to the Final Four has reached its destination. Here in the city of fountains, where hope springs eternal. And where college basketball fans can't wait to unleash their emotions as their heroes strive.
We got the opportunity to talk to Danny Manning, and I wanted to include some of his storytelling in 2022 about that amazing run to the national championship. The team started 9-8 after a loss to Oklahoma. It wasn't looking like even a tournament team maybe. And I wanted to just kind of hit on the one thing I wanted to hit on, maybe take a different perspective on, is what allowed the team to persevere. Because I think that, I'm sure that could translate. And it's kind of a little bit of what you're talking about right now. And I just wanted to see what you saw in that team or what your recollections were about how you guys were able to overcome, not the start that you wanted.
Well, I think for us, that 1988 season, like most seasons for a lot of teams, you have your ebbs and flows and your valleys and your high points. And we certainly were in a valley for Kansas basketball in terms of where we were at the season. We talk about being 9-8 and then you hear teams talking about who's going to get to the tournament, who's not going to get to the tournament. Maybe we can get a home NIT game or some of the things that you're hearing. And at that point, we're just like, well, hold on a minute.
Yeah.
Like, we're at Kansas. This isn't supposed to be happening. Just because we're at Kansas, you know what I mean? From a naive young person perspective, that's really just generated from the athletic side. But we had a coach in Larry Brown, and every time that we lost a game during that early part of our season, Coach Brown would come in the locker room and he would give us his spiel and talk about what we needed to do better. And then at the end of the day, he says, "Guys, we're close. We're really close. We're getting close." And that's a frustrating message to continue to get as a team when you're losing games.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. But we continue to believe and buy into a system. We got better, and I think one of the saving graces for us was we liked each other as players, as teammates, and we were able to use those relationships to help us get better on the court, in the sense of we got away from the personal feelings of a teammate getting on you to saying, "You're right, I got to do better."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Opposed to, "Why box out Danny?" And then Danny come back, "Well, you didn't box out 2 plays ago, or you didn't do," it's just like, "You're right, I got to get better."
Yeah.
And then, we just continue to do the things necessary to give ourselves a chance to win. And we didn't care about who got the credit or the recognition. We just wanted to continue to play. And, we got hot at the right time. Coach Brown implements a system that we all buy into. And, we take off from there. But, for me, it's just, you go back and you think about all the things that we went through to get to that point. And those hardships early in the season were extremely difficult for all of us, but it helped prepare us to go on a long run.
I love that. I love that perspective. What made Larry Brown so unique? I mean, talk about a character in the history of college basketball. I mean, the fact that he's still going too. I love that. But what made him or makes him so unique and different?
You hit the nail on the head. Coach Brown is 80 years old and he's still coaching. Like, wow. I'm looking around and I see different people, and Coach Sturgeon and I talk about it all the time. Coach is 80 and he's still doing it. Like 80. That's incredible.
Think about how many years you got left now.
Oh my God. So for Coach Brown, he made us better basketball players, and he made us better people. He prepared us for life after basketball, and that's something that everyone that's played for Coach has utilized in some way, shape, or form on their journey since meeting him. His mind he's a genius in the things that he sees in his evaluation skills of players. And so for all of us, we're extremely fortunate and blessed to have him be a part of our journey. I'm not having said that, he was hard to play for because he was so challenging, right?
Yeah.
I mean, every day, if this is your ceiling, I want to get you as close to your ceiling as possible every day. And sometimes as a young teenager, kind of the Thundercat mentality of, "Oh man, I'm athletic, I can do this, I'm 17, I'm 18, I'm invincible." To have somebody telling you every day, "Well, you can do better. You can do better," was challenging at times.
Yeah.
And, to figure out ways to navigate that. And the first thing that you got to understand is he's challenging me like this every day because he sees something in me. He's challenging me like this every day because he wants me to be the best that I can possibly be. And sometimes a lot of times as a adolescent teenager on a college campus, you got a few other thoughts running through your head too, opposed to just playing basketball.
Can't imagine that.
And so for him to be able to find different ways to keep you motivated, to challenge you, to get outside of your box. I laugh now because I find myself saying a lot of things to the young people that I come in contact with every day that Coach Brown said to me and our team. You know, and it's just like, you know, he always had this saying, another day to be great, kiddo. And, you know, as a teenager, you're like, another day to be great. Like, all right, coach, let's huddle up and get ready for practice, right?
Yeah.
And then now you're saying, you know, grateful for the day. Like, you're right.
Yeah.
You know, this is another day, and I got to maximize this day because tomorrow's not promised. And so, you know, all those little anecdotes that he would throw out to you, and, you know, you find yourself repeating them not only to your team but to your kids,
right?
To your family members, and so, you know, the impact that Coach Brown has had on all of us has been tremendous.
That's awesome. You can feel there's something in those little anecdotes and about little sayings that give a rhythm to life that I think, you know, you're hitting on there. Something to just kind of a stickiness to a situation where if you connect it with that it does kind of blend things together in a really positive way. I love that. Let's dive back into coaching. I want to talk, just starting out with Kansas, kind of comparing that 2008 title and just how it felt different or the same as when you won it as a player.
Well, whenever you're able to be the last team standing or cut down the nets on that stage, it's always a terrific feeling. As a player, you're a lot more naive to all the things that have to happen or need to happen for something like that to go down. You know, as a player, it's just like, let's go ball, let's go hoop. Coach, you got a scout report. You're trying to figure out the right matchup. You're trying to have some special plays in your back pocket in case you get in a certain situation and things of that nature. You know, your health has to be good, and you know, so many different things that go through your mind as a coach. Yeah. So as a player, you know, you're just like, wow, you know, we're playing in the Final Four, we're playing for the national championship, this is cool. And as a coach, you're just like, oh my gosh, dude, are we ready for this? We got to make sure we've got something for this in case they do this and in case they do that. And so in 1988, after we won the championship, I didn't realize the magnitude of what that meant in terms of how it would affect all of us on our journey moving forward. Yeah. It changed our lives. Yeah. And so we're very fortunate for that. But I really didn't get a chance to see the impact and the love that it provided for the university community because I moved on to the professional ranks. Mm-hmm. And I got a chance to experience that in 2008.
I love that.
Right? So it's, you know, you win the national championship as a player, you have your celebrations, whether it's a parade or big pep rallies, and then you have your banquet at the end of the year. But to be able to experience it every day in 2008 and see the magnitude of the support from the different people in the community, the amount of pride from Jayhawk Nation, was cool to see because I missed out on that because I was on to another part of my journey. And that was probably the coolest thing for me. It's just like you sit back and it's like, you know, wow, this is special. You know, this is different, and you get a chance to see it every day and feel it. You knew it was special when you be a part of a championship team, but to be able to feel it every day because of the people around you and how moved they are and proud and happy that, you know, people are when those special seasons end that way. Was really nice. But, you know, it's a lot more nerve-wracking as a coach, just to be honest with you.
You got more time. You got more time to think about it, right? You don't have to warm up. You're just standing there thinking the whole time. You have to try to get out of your head. Thank you for listening today. If you like what you heard, leave us a rating or review, 5 stars only, like the basketball camp. You can also give us feedback at 199podcast@199.com. Again, that's 199podcast@199.com. Till next time.